Welcome back to the Always Reading Book Club. It is your girl Kiki Reader, and we've reached the final book in the Forbidden Desire series by Kendall Ryan. Now, if you haven't listened to the other three books in this series, those reviews are going to be listed down below. Once you finish those, come and join us as we dive into the final book, Tempting Little Tease. We meet 22-year-old Alessandra, and she's a full time nanny. And she's currently working for a woman named Lorraine who has two children. And this is her job. So, this is only going to be her job for the next 3 weeks because she's moving to Italy. She's going to um, teach English to students. She's a recent college graduate, and she's getting ready to leave from this job. When she checks her email, she sees that um, she apparently needs to go teach a client tonight. So Sal is the guy who actually is the one that got her the position in Italy. He's had a heart attack, and he's got a client this evening at 6 o'clock, and so they want to know if she can go over and cover for him. So she's got to shoot across town to get there to him. So she gets to Kingsley Towers, and she's like, oh my gosh, clearly this person has money. She goes up to the office, gets to the well, it's an office. It's just huge, but it's an office. And the woman, who's Alyssa, is kind of curt with her. But she goes and it's like, okay, he's ready to see you. She goes in, and all she sees is this beautiful view of Boston. So Quinn doesn't have his desk like right in front of the view. Like normal people, their desk is in front of it, facing away from it. His desk is actually in the corner, so he can look out at the view. I was like, that's kind of neat, because if you have a great view, you want to see it. He kind of I can't even say the word, startles her when he says, like, it's a beautiful view, right? And because she didn't know someone else was in there. So he, of course, tells her, I think views like this, they should be admired. That's why I have my desk over this way. So, of course, she's immediately attracted to him because he's like tall, dark, and handsome, the whole thing. He's attracted to her. They shake hands. It's a beautiful moment to read. Um, she feels entranced by him, and she can tell that he's kind of staring at her a little longer than he should. So there's clearly a mutual attraction. So she asked him, kind of like, what were you two reading out of? Like, where were you? And he's like, well, we were just kind of more so doing like conversational Italian. And so he starts saying, well, I'll tell you about myself in Italian. So he does. And that's how she finds out Quinn's 38, doesn't know much about his family history. He knows he's Italian. That's kind of what sparked him into doing this. And he's been taking lessons for about a year. So she's looking at him, staring at him, and he said something to her, and she didn't know what he said. And she's like, excuse me, I'm sorry, what? He said to her in Italian that she was a very attractive woman. So he's like really forward. She appreciates that though. It doesn't happen too often for her. It's not like the stupid shit of, like, I like you, I'm not going to say anything. He's very forthright. So they have some flirtation going on back and forth in Italian. It's really cute. And then he asks her out to dinner. And she tells him she'll have to think about it. And so then she leaves. She goes to have drinks with her best friend, Deanna. And Deanna, of course, is like, what are you, like, is he creepy? Because he's older than you, but is he, like, creepy old? And she's like, nah, nothing creepy about him, And she's like, I feel kind of bad. I kind of feel like the creep because I'm supposed to be teaching him, and I want to do a lot more things than just teach him. So she's debating on whether she's going to go, but we all know she's going to go on this date because if she didn't want to go, she would have said no from the get-go. We switch to Quinn's POV. I love it when they do that. And of course, he still has Alessandra on his mind the next day. Um, he can even smell her perfume lingering in his office. So he hasn't been getting much work done today. So he decides to send her a text. Good morning, beautiful, in Italian. She responds with, hello, Mr. Kinsley. And he asked if she was free that night. It was a Friday night. And he felt stupid when he sent it because he was like, well, she's young. Like, of course she's going to be, have plans. But turns out she's free. And so she told him, yeah, like, I don't have any plans. We can do it. So he sends her the address of where to meet up at this Italian restaurant. And I think it was the same one that they all go to, like that Gavin took Emma to the first time. So it's like their family type of restaurant. So he says, I'll meet you there. So he gets there. The owner's shocked to see him. And so, cause at first he's like, oh, for one, and he's like, no, I have a date. So the guy looks shocked because they haven't seen Quinn on a date in forever. So he's looking like, what is really going on here? So they take him to the table. They have great conversation again. They're really relaxed around each other. They have great chemistry, nice flirts. It just works. So we find out she's Italian as well. She comes from an Italian family. He talks about how the past years he's really starting to want to get into his genealogy, and he hopes one day to actually go to Italy. So they eat. The food's great. And he asks her if she wants dessert. She says maybe next time. That made him happy because at least he knows there's going to be a next time. So he calls her a cab from outside. He kisses her. It's absolutely electric. And it appears to feel that way on both sides because she looks a little woozy after he lets up from the kiss. The next day, Alessandra wakes up, and normally she just lays around on Saturdays. Looks at some travel vlogs, some books, things like that. But her friend Deanna wants to go thrift store shopping. It's her favorite thing to do. And since she only has like 3 weeks left, she's going to spend as much time as she can with her homegirl. So she goes down to the car, and while they're driving, Deanna wants to know what happened on this date. And so Deanna called him the Italian stallion. And Alessandra's like, listen, if you call him that, you're not going to get the story. So she tells her what happened on the date. Deanna's so excited. They go in the thrift store. She finds these sexy black jeans she's going to wear. And she hasn't, again, brought up to him about the 3 weeks that she's leaving. She's kind of nervous about doing that because it's like, yes, I'm leaving, but I still want to get to know this person. It's selfish, yes, but that's kind of where she is. But she does at least feel bad for not having been told him yet. So she's excited to wear these jeans because she feels like this might be the night that those jeans are going to come off. We switch back to Quinn's POV. And him, Cooper, and Gavin are having to deal with this famous person who has used their services but doesn't want to pay. They feel like because of who they are, that's their payment. So they've been trying to get this guy to pay. Normally they would stay late, all three of them, and get this handled in a night. Well, now two of the brothers are married. So Cooper's like, it's lasagna night. Like, I'm going home. And Gavin just flat out says, I'm going home to fuck my wife. He's like, she's not happy when I come home late. So he feels two ways. He's happy that his brothers are happy, but he does feel this tinge of jealousy because they have someone and it has changed them, and he feels like they're getting soft. So after that, I think the next night, well, actually, I think a few days have passed, and it's time for his Italian lesson. So Alessandra comes to the office. They speak a couple words of Italian to each other, and boom, they start kissing. So They were about to screw, but Alyssa knocks on the door and is like, your brother's here to see you. So they straighten up, but Cooper comes in. Cooper's at the door. Well, at first he's at the door because, like, Quinn won't let him in. And he's like, well, you want to try and get this thing straightened up, with with the guy that needs to pay. And Quinn's like, now's not the time. I'm in the middle of a lesson. So Cooper's like, oh, great, Sal's here. I haven't seen him in a long time. So then Alessandra comes out, and Coop's like, oh, so this is your new tutor. Okay. So they do the pleasantries of nice to meet you and all this type of stuff. So then Cooper, like, invites her to Sunday dinner. He's like, well, hopefully we'll see you, Sunday dinner. And Quinn's like, after Cooper leaves, he's like, I would like you to come, but if you don't want, to, I understand, but I would like for you to. So she agrees. She's like, okay, I'll come. They have their lesson, and then she's honest with him, and she tells him, you know, that she's leaving in 3 weeks. She's moving to Italy. And, she really can't get involved in anything serious. And so she tells him, this is something I've wanted for a really long time. And he's just like, okay. It hits him, but he just kind of feels like, okay, I'm just going to have to make these next few weeks matter. So then Quinn comes, picks her up next day. She says he looks even more sexy in a cashmere sweater and some jeans. They go to a museum. It's beautiful. It's a great experience. She loves that he, left her alone. He didn't try to, like, stick by her side and try to sound smart. If he didn't know something, he said it. He let her enjoy the painting. So it was just a really nice experience. So then afterwards, they were hungry, and he says, we want to go to the farmer's market, get like some fresh bread, some cheeses, make like a charcuterie board. And she's down with that. They take it back to his house. It's super good, super fresh. She's happy. And then, of course, they start kissing after they've eaten. And it gets a little bit more intense. And then before you know it, he's put his finger in her panties. She is super wet. And so he gets her close to coming, and then he stops. And she's like, why did you stop? He's like, it's called edging. There was another book I reviewed. I can't think of it at this moment. But that this is what the guy did, the edging thing. And it made the orgasm, like, super intense to the point to where they, like, would feel like they were about to black out. And that's what happened to her in this book, too. That sounds a little too intense, and it scares me a little bit. But it worked for her, so she was happy. So then she's ready to do the damn thing, and he wants to slow down. He's like, I want to take you on a proper date. Now, she, of course, is like, well, what we just did is not taking it slow. So the next day, she's coming over for dinner with the family. He does tell her about each one of the brothers and their wives, and she's like, okay, but she's still freaking out because she's very much falling for him, and she's super nervous at the same time because she doesn't want to appear as like this 22-year-old bimbo who's just after Quinn for his money. So then we flip back to Quinn's POV. Gavin, Cooper, they're giving him a little grief about the fact that she's 22 years old, and he doesn't really want to talk about it. He tells them, just give her a chance. That's all I'm saying. Just give her a chance. So she comes, she's nervous, she's talking real fast. Eventually she comes down after he kisses her, and she's like, oh shoot, you're gonna mess up my makeup. She was just a whole mess. So then she met everyone, the girls, Emma and Corinne. They were so sweet, so nice to her, embraced her immediately. Gavin and Cooper, of course, a little bit more reserved. They're at the table. They're about to eat, and they ask her, like, what did she get her degree in? I think she said she got her degree in the classics, and I think Italian was one of them. And she also tells the thing about the fact that she's moving to Italy in a few weeks to teach English. And Cooper and Gavin look at each other, and Quinn doesn't say anything because that's not something he wants to focus on, but clearly his brothers are concerned. So when they get in the kitchen, they of course try and talk to him. And actually, hold on. Right before that, while they were at the table, Gavin had said that they, ran an escort service, because he never said what it was that they ran, and it probably came across as like a dating service, which it is, but it's technically an escort service, right? But she wasn't mad, or she wasn't judgy about it or anything like that. She was fine. He had opened up to her a little bit about the fact that his mom, this was when everyone left, that his mom used to be a prostitute and everything like that. And she again told him, listen, there's no judgment on my part, at all. So then, of course, she's like, well, when are you going to take me on a proper date? Because girl wants to get down. And so he says like either Thursday or Friday. And he apparently is going to take her to a different restaurant. And then they'll have their night of fun. So it's the night of her date, and Alessandra gets a call from Lorraine, her current boss, saying that she's not going to be home at 5. She's not going to get there until like 8 or 9 that night. So she's like, dang it, So she calls Quinn to let him know she's not going to make the date. She asked him if he was available the next night. He's like, actually, no, I got a charity thing I got to go to. He's like, but would you accompany me? And she's like, yeah, for sure, So then later that night when she gets home, there's a knock on the door. It's a courier. I can't say courier. I can't say it. Courier. That's it. And they bring a beautiful dress, beautiful shoes, and she is extremely excited about her date. While Quinn's at work, he has Cooper come by, and Cooper's been trying to talk to him for quite some time, ever since that Sunday dinner, but he's been avoiding him and Gavin. And so he knows he's just going to give him shit about Alessandra, and he doesn't want to hear it. So Coop can tell from his response that clearly he likes this woman, because when Coop says to him, how's that 22-year-old pussy, dude there's a face he makes that he couldn't catch it in time. And so Cooper's like, I'm just joking, But Quinn wasn't going to admit still, that he was clearly falling, but his brothers know him, so they see what's happening. So he pushes Cooper out and decides he's going to leave work early because he's not getting anything done anyway. And on his way out, Gavin, of course, looks at him like, is something wrong with you? Like, where are you going? He's like, you haven't left early in 10 years. He's like, are you sick? He's like, nope, I'm fine. And he just leaves. So he goes, picks her up. They have a nice time at the event. They're hot and heavy. They're ready to get out of there. And so on the way out, she says, I hope you know this is an old-fashioned date. We dressed up. We had dinner, champagne. He's like, I know. So just get in the car. Well, the limo. So then they start kissing, and then he winds up eating her pussy and making her come before they even arrive to his place. So they get to his place, and of course they have this heavy makeout session. It's a really good read, a description of their night. It really was. They have a great hard fuck session. They did it raw. She was like, she's on the pill. He said he was squeaky clean, and plowed into her, and that was it. And she knew, like, he's ruined me for all other men. Afterwards, they go and have post-coital snacks. A post-coitus snacks. And they talk, and he asked what made her want to move to Italy. I think she's moving to Rome, if I'm not mistaken. And she said it's just something she's always wanted to do. She's always been very intrigued by the Mediterranean and has wanted to spend time there. And being that she hasn't really been able to find a job with the type of degree that she has, it just seems like, kismet. He asked her how long she's going to stay, and she says indefinitely. And that's when he truly feels it. He knows he's falling for her, and it hits him a lot more that she's going to be leaving. So it also, makes him think you're like, she's going to leave, she's going to meet somebody else. Like, it's going to devastate him. So he changes the subject and asks her how she got the nanny job. And he feels like she knows he's trying to change the subject, but she doesn't want to talk about leaving either. So she doesn't fight him on it. They of course wind up having sex again. Then the next morning, he has his assistant get some. He had his assistant already get some regular clothes for her. They were already there, so she didn't. So it was like different colors and styles. He had everything set for her. So they go. They have breakfast. Great conversation. And she asked him, had he ever thought about hiring a private investigator? And he's like, I never thought about that. We use it when we need to track down certain clients, but I just never thought about using it for myself. I just figured, it's a weight I'll always have, it's never going to be alleviated, that whole not knowing where you fully come from. So now he's definitely looking into hiring a PI to see what he can find and give some more clarification, just not just for him, but for the brothers as well. So it's Sunday. He goes for a jog. He texts her, asks if she can, come to Sunday dinner. She's like, nope. She has to work. She has to stay overnight with the kids for Lorraine. And he's like, you want some company? And she's like, well, hold on, let me check with Lorraine first. So she texts him back real quick and says, hey, she says it's cool. The kids just go to bed at 8:30. He's like, all right, I'll see you then. So he's thinking of something quick and easy to cook for the family so he could get them in and out. So he makes some chicken fajitas. They can tell he's Russian. And Cooper tries to talk to him, but again, he is not in the mood to talk. He is not about to have this conversation. Cooper's concerned. I get it. She is younger. You clearly see that your brother is smitten with her. However, she doesn't give off these vibes of trying to use him or anything like that. Don't get it twisted. I understand that people can always show you the best parts of themselves, so you don't see that at first. I get that. But I'm just saying, you and Gavin both fell pretty damn hard for women that were younger than you as well. Now, his age gap is a little bigger, His is 16 years. But it's like no one could tell you what you felt. You knew what you felt. You knew what you wanted. And now you won't allow him to experience it. That I don't like, especially being y'all fuck people all the time. This man ain't been with nobody in a really long time. He has been in a relationship in a long time. So just kind of like let him experience it. He's a big boy. Just let him experience it. He clearly wants to go down this path. You've never seen him want to go down this path with probably damn near anybody. So it's like, let him do it. If it's not going to pan out, it doesn't pan out. You're his family. You'll be there for him. But let him experience it. He gets him out of there pretty quickly. And then he rushes to go over there to meet the kids. When he had gone to the store earlier, he'd also stopped off at a toy store and gotten a couple of gifts for the kids as well, because he's trying to make a good impression. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. So he brings the kid their toys and stuff. They love them. He also brought her some fajitas so she can have something to eat, and it just warmed her whole heart. First that he thought about, getting something for the kids, and then thought about her. She just thought that was so sweet. He's about to leave. She begs him to stay. And she's like, come here real quick. So there's a room where Lorraine she has like her sewing machine and different stuff. And there's also a futon in there that she sleeps in when she stays overnight. And so they wind up having like a oral session. She sucked him off. He ate her pussy. And then he's like, I gotta go, because if I don't, it's gonna be a lot more than just what we did. So he knows, it's like he's all in. You know what I mean? Like, he knows she's leaving. He knows she's apparently too young, but he just doesn't care anymore. He just wants to just completely woo her. So she goes to dinner with Deanna. It's gonna be a whole girls' night. Normally, after she hangs with Deanna, she goes to Quinn's, but tonight she's like, no, it's just gonna be all about me and my girl. So she's gonna be leaving in a few days, and they talk. She admits that she has thought about not going. At the same time, she couldn't forgive herself if she gave up on her dreams. She doesn't know if this is gonna work out. They could date for a year, and then like what could happen, So she doesn't want to give up on her dreams, and Deanna agreed with her. So Deanna was like, you need to follow your dreams, and hopefully it will bring you back here with me on the same continent. And they have a toast. So one day, Quinn gets an email from the private investigator that he hired, and we find out that their mother had given up a boy for adoption, and this kid's 37. I think his name's William. So he would have been right between Quinn and Gavin. So the guy's going, the PI's gonna try and get more information on him and everything. He's startled, completely dumbfounded. Cooper comes in the office, and Cooper's thinking like, oh shit, what happened? But he's being a dick about it. He's like, did the 19-year-old dump you already? Like, he's so evil. And then Quinn doesn't say anything. He's like, oh shit, no, I'm sorry. I know she's 22. I was just bothering you. I know breakups can be bad. And he changed his whole tune. But he's like, you got to sit down. And then he tells them, and Cooper's floored. So they're going to tell Gavin together when he comes back from a work trip in Florida. So it's the night before she's scheduled to leave. Deanna's throwing her little get together, but he doesn't go. He wants her to have her time with her friends, because if he's there, they're just going to touch all over each other, just be stuck on each other. And he doesn't want to do that. So she's going to come over the next day, right before she leaves. Her flight leaves out that evening, so she's going to stay to his place till probably like 5. The air is thick because the moment has arrived. She is leaving. And he gives her a beautiful gift. It's a necklace. I think it had a pearl pendant. She loves it. They start kissing. They're about to start to fuck, but she's like, there's no time. And then the cab comes and she's gone. So she gets to Rome, but it's horrible. Her roommate is awful. Rude. It's supposed to be her and the girl, but apparently the girl's boyfriend lives there too. The girl eats her food she's just awful. When she goes for her tutoring session, she finds out there's no office, okay? So she has to go to these people's homes. So she found a bike that she could ride there. It was pretty cheap. But then a lot of times when she gets to their house, they tell her, oh, no lesson today. So it's just been really rough for poor girl. So then today's her payday. So she's like, okay, great. It's 200 euros. She's like, this cannot be right. There's no way. Found out she read the contract wrong. That's the right pay. She's been there 2 weeks, and it's only going to pay her 100 euros a week. She's like, this is not even a livable wage. And she looks and sees that she has an email from Quinn, and he was just asking, how it was there, he was also being very honest about how much he missed her, how he's been talking to Sal. Sal's better, and they've been Sal's been his grief counselor. And even though it is 6 hours ahead, she calls him, and he's not sleeping well anyway. So of course he answers her. He tells her how much he misses her. He's like, how's everything going? She lies. She says she's having a wonderful time and all this type of stuff. And he says, are you going to call again? And she says, yes, for sure. And when she hangs up, she kind of feels like, what the hell am I doing here? I'm miserable. So when Quinn gets off the phone, Quinn knows she's lying. He's like, something's wrong, something's up. So he decides to go to Rome. gets a flight, get the information from Deanna, like her address and stuff like that, and he goes there, and they have like this intercom, and a guy answers and just says that she's not there, but doesn't say when she'll be back. They're speaking in Italian. And so he goes and waits at a cafe close by. He sees two people coming closer. Looks like they're hugged up. It's Alessandra and some guy. And he goes, oh shit, she's moved on. That's why she sounded like that. He's like, I'm so fucking stupid. He tries to sneak out and winds up running into someone. And she sees him. And of course, she's like, Quinn. He's like, I'm sorry. He's like, I know I shouldn't be here. Like, clearly you've moved on. She's like, no. This is Antonio. I work with him and his fiance. And he's like, oh, okay. So then she says again, like, what are you doing here? And he says, you just sounded so off on the phone. I just had to come and see if you're okay. And that broke her. She started crying on his chest. And she's like, yeah, we need to talk. They go back to his hotel, and of course, before they even can start talking, they have a whole lot of I miss yous. They start kissing, and then they have a nice, hard fuck session. And then afterwards, she tells him the truth of how it's really been there. And he says to her, I am so sorry. He says, I know how much this meant to you. You know, I I genuinely wanted this. He wanted that to be a good experience for her. And I thought that was sweet, and I thought that showed, I mean, I would say just human decency, but sometimes people aren't. But just like a genuine being happy for someone, wanting to see something bring them joy. And I think he really, even though it made him sad that she left, it was her dream. And he wanted to see that, you know, come to fruition for her. And it came, but it was just not the type of dream she expected. So while they were fucking, he told her, I love you. And she, of course, thought she heard him say it, but she didn't say it back at that very moment. So then she does say "ti amo" back to him, because when he said it to her, he said it in Italian. And then he asked her, he's like, marry me. He's like, I have enough money that we could have a life here. We could build a home here. We can and still have a home in Boston. He's like, marry me. And the only thing she can think of is yes. So for the next week, they go around doing all the stuff that they wanted to do. It was a really beautiful experience. He even set up something for her to go to like the Sabine Hills, have a tour of a vineyard, have a cooking lesson with like this renowned chef named Giovanni. Absolutely beautiful, amazing. And he even has the idea of like doing like a retreat or something that they should do it there. And that's how it ended. Like, it just, they had their everything worked out the way it was supposed to be. They truly had their happily ever after. I thought it was so incredibly cute. In the, what was it, epilogue, we find out that they eventually do meet the brother William, and they're trying to form a relationship with him. I don't know. I was like, well, why? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. Unless there's going to be like another series diving into some more stuff about this family. Like, that's kind of the only way that makes sense. Otherwise, I was like, they could have left that out. It just didn't really fit. So we'll see what the author does if she does another series. But I like this series. I thought it was so cute. Tell me what you guys think. Drop down in that comment section. If you have any ideas of any new series you would like for me to review, put those down in the comment section as well. If you are in the market for a beautiful notebook or journal, I do have those available, and that link's going to be available down below in the description section. As always, make sure you like and subscribe. And thank you for tuning in to the Always Reading Book Club.